Okay, I want to add a couple of display methods, string methods, and we'll add those now so that we can complete or can start on the next phase of the development. So we're going to make a string which is going to be used for display. Let me just talk it through. So we're going to use our string builder friend again, which is a really useful tool where we can take complex types of string items and join them together with a little bit of formatting, which is really hard to do without this string builder method that's built into C#. So we have this here, make whole display string, which is about machine, and then we append, which is 2 tabs, the T /T, append minutes /T, and then append line used. So it's actually a kind of a header structure that we're going to create. So that's a really useful string for us to have. So I've wrapped a region around it just to keep us able to keep collapsing stuff so that we can see what we're working with. So that's good. Right, now let's add another method, which is another string method. And this one is going to make a single display string. Right, so let's talk about this one. So this one takes an activity as a parameter. Now the activity class we've already defined, and here are its members, the machine name, the level, the weighted, the duration, and the used. That's where you take the weighted times the duration and you multiply them together and you get the used. And so that's what it's going to use. It's going to use that data that's wrapped up inside this object and then make a temp string, use a string builder, which string builder is where you can build this complex string like you just saw. And then we're going to take a used string where we take the activity used and convert it to a string, because remember it's a number, and we're going to take it into convert it into a number, sorry, and then turn that back into a string. And then if it's less than, or so if it's greater than or equal to 12, we do this, else we do that. And that's me just managing the tabs, because the tabs will be different. See, I've got an extra, if it's greater than or equal to 12, I just use 1 tab, but if it's less, I use 2 tabs, and that gives me really neat headers. And you can't believe the number of the amount of effort that went into getting that right, so that all the things lined up neatly and look as if they're very professionally prepared. Remembering that we can also do this, which allows us to add this helper header, which is really good. So to provide a tabbed header. So that's that one. So that's a really useful two methods that we've got there. So we can just save to make sure we don't lose anything and collapse that up. Yep, that's good. So the next part of this video and the last part of this video is going to be the next method, which is familiar to you, the harvest for method. But it's big, it's fat, it's complicated. So this will take up the whole of this video, and we'll need to talk it through line by line, or certainly section by section, as you're going to be copying it down. So we've got the method name. Private is going to return an activity, and it's called harvest form. Right, so it uses a get method and then curly braces after the get. The first thing we do is we use what's called the ternary method of doing an if-else statement. Really interesting way of doing it. So the result will be is weighted. Is weighted as a bool, and it's going to be if true if the inclined checkbox is checked, otherwise it's false. So we're checking, is the inclined checkbox ticked, and therefore is weighted is going to be true, otherwise it's going to be false. It's just a neater way of writing an if-else statement. We then get three handler variables, which are here, and we're talking about the duration, fraction of an hour, and the used in activity, which are going to hold data. And then we're putting in a conversion factor here that is going to work with the is weighted. So remember, we increased it by a percentage of 11%, I think it was. So we're saying that if we've got a weighted factor, then you multiply something by 1.11 and you're going to get whatever it was plus 11%. So we're then going to check some if is null or empty. We're doing the data checking in the controls on the form. So the first one is we're going to say the duration text box. Yeah, so we're checking that, and if it's false, we say we've got to have a duration. Then we're going to check, so then we're going to get the duration fraction of hour by converting whatever was in minutes into fractions of an hour. Then we're going to get the usage date, the rate, by getting the rate from the selected machine and the selected level, because remember, each machine has 3 levels that are possible, and we've got that built in. We've already built that method for us. So then if is weighted, we get the used in activity, which is the usage rate times the duration as a fraction of an hour times the weighting factor. Otherwise it's that. It's dead easy. It's really kind of one or the other, isn't it? Because it's either weighted or not, and it's actually only on the treadmill that we ever use the weighting. So right, we now go used running total. We're trying to get a used plus used plus used plus used equals plus equals the used in activity, which is here. So we're getting a running total. Then we're going to say a temp activity is a new activity. So the machine name is the selected machine. The weighted was yes or no is weighted. The level is a selected level. The duration is the duration recorded. And the used is used in activity, which we've worked out here. So we're now going to get our string builder to display this data in a format that's acceptable for use in the summary and so forth, and actually in that section of the screen where we'd left the gap. And that's where everything has to line up with the strings that we've got to make, so that the headers are going to be exactly neat and tidy. So we build our string builder by adding the person name and so forth, the person age, the person's weight, spacer line. Then we append the selected machine, is weighted, selected level, duration recorded, the usage rate. We're going to convert that into 2 decimal places. That's the hash dot hash hash. Then we get duration fraction of an hour, and the used message box show, whatever it was that we've worked out in that string. And that's when that little dialog pops up, and you saw as we worked it that it's going to return the data before it shows it on the summary screen, all neatly lined up, because we've made the effort to use our tabs in the other string construction methods. We then return the temp activity, because that's what this harvest form is looking for, an activity, and that's the activity. Quite a complicated method, but there it is. You've got quite a lot to do in this one. This is a copy and paste job, absolutely, to make sure that you get this right. What is really, really important to remember is that it becomes increasingly relevant to have all of your indentations lined up. See that private there, 160, you know, this one lines up with 247. So you've got the, 244. So you've got this, and it's really important, and it's really easy to get these out of place. Absolutely dead easy to get these out of place. So you can see that 60 lines up with 244. And then if we go there, the get lines up with 243, and then the 164 lines up with 242. It's really easy to make mistakes on these, and it can be very, very frustrating.